then she told us that we were effing insane. And
she's like, and she went like this.
Insane.
Yeah. She's like, you better stop this
and stop pulling
shit.
this. Yeah.
And
for you guys
I
to
hope
come
God
here
can
and
save
pull
you.
This. Yeah.
She said, for you to come here and pull this shit.
Yeah.
She said the word.
Yeah.
Did she say effing insane or?
No, she said the word.
And nobody around you spoke up for you.
No.
No.
I will say, Annalie, when I came over, you were in tears.
Yeah, I've never been yelled at like that. I mean, I've had people hate on me on the internet, but like it doesn't really affect me as much because it's just people online. But that just took me by surprise because I thought she was gonna be nice, and then she started.
Seattle Storm's owner allegedly confronted a teenage girl over her *pro Sophie Cunningham Stinkdascore sign, reportedly shouting at her until the young fan was forced to put it away, leaving her in tears. That story has been spreading across basketball Twitter for the past 2 days, and it's not just another overblown internet rumor. Once you uncover what really happened courtside in Seattle, the truth is even more disturbing than the headline suggests. More importantly, it reveals far more about the current state of the league. A teenage girl brought a sign to a WNBA game. It didn't target anyone, it didn't mention a single player by name. It simply thanked Sophie Cunningham for speaking up for girls in sports. According to fans who were sitting nearby, a Seattle Storm co-owner walked directly over to her during the game and told her to put it away, right there, in front of a sold-out crowd. By the time it was over, the girl was in tears and security had become involved. Think about that for a moment. A grown adult, someone who literally owns part of a professional sports franchise, confronted a kid at a basketball game because she was holding a sign she liked.
And in that story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Do you think, I guess along the line like that, it goes against perhaps, some people might say, hey, for the trans community, this could be something that could come back on us or be targeted against us. Like, how do you, I guess, view that sort of critique?
You know, like I said, I extend love, and I don't dislike anyone. Like, I think there is room for absolutely everyone here, and I think there's room to love.
Just weeks earlier, Sophie Cunningham sat down for an ESPN feature and was asked a direct question about protecting women's sports. She didn't avoid the question, and she didn't try to water down her response to make it sound safer. Instead, she said plainly that she wants to protect young girls in locker rooms, that they shouldn't have to compete against biological men, and that she'll continue to believe that, no matter what kind of reaction it may provoke.
The left is completely intolerant and the actual hateful ones. This woman is not an owner of a basketball team. She's an owner of a left-wing, radical, political activist group that happens to play basketball. Because this team has endorsed Kamala Harris for president, they have promoted trans rights on their website and their merchandise, and clearly they hold a double standard and allow people to hold signs like this, but belittle young girls that support their sports remaining female. I don't expect them to do this, but I would really like to see the WNBA protect and stand up for fans just like these two young girls from hate and intolerance.
There was no name-calling in her response. There was no attack on a teammate, an opponent, or anyone in particular. It was simply a direct answer to a direct question, delivered calmly the way you'd expect from someone who had clearly thought it through beforehand, instead of saying something impulsively in the moment. Yet that answer quickly became attached to a broader narrative, whether Sophie said anyone's name or not, because, in this league, context rarely remains neutral for very long.
It has been so fun. I played with BG for 6 years, and so I know her like the back of my hand, and as of late, she's been playing really good. She's been playing like OG Brittney. I'm there to love, but I'm also there to love biological women, and I think that there are rights that need to be protected, and like I said, I'm gonna stand true to that. I'll never falter in my beliefs in that, but I have never once said I hated the trans community. Like I said, I think there's space for everyone.
Anyone who has followed an Indiana Fever game against the Connecticut Sun this season already knows exactly who many fans connected those comments to. Brittney Griner and Caitlin Clark have had a tense history on the court stretching back several seasons, hard body checks that fans believed went uncalled, a bench moment from last year that people still debate frame by frame, and what many viewed as a pattern of officiating that consistently leaned the same way whenever those two shared the floor. So, when Cunningham Clark's closest teammate and one of her most vocal defenders stood up and said, asterisk, men shouldn't be playing in women's sports, asterisk, no one in the fan base needed a translator to connect the dots. The timing alone did most of the talking.
Fans at the game booed Cunningham when she checked into the game. One Seattle Storm player even showed up pre-game wearing a shirt that read, "Trans rights are human rights." After the game, Storm coach Sonia Rahman was asked about the situation.
Seattle and this organization and Climate Pledge, we always want to be an area where people feel welcome coming into this building. I think we've always done a really good job with that, working closely with Climate Pledge and with security to just make sure that you did and welcome when they walk in this door. And from what I understand, that was...
Griner has never directly addressed the theory that Cunningham's comments were aimed specifically at her. What she did say, in a separate interview just days before this whole situation erupted, was that playing against Cunningham is annoying as crap, even though she'd never want anyone else as a teammate beside her. Make of that what you will. But once Cunningham's comments reached the internet, the reaction wasn't minor, and it certainly didn't stay quiet for long.
Cunningham, a female athlete herself, very accomplished in her own right, coming forth and speaking that truth that men shouldn't play in women's sports. We want to protect women and girls, and the backlash she is receiving from Democrats and left-wing figures across the country is...
Within roughly 48 hours, the story was everywhere. USA Today picked it up. ESPN discussed it across multiple shows the following morning. Fox News devoted an entire national segment to it. Even the White House press secretary commented publicly, saying Cunningham was on the side of an issue that many Americans already support, whether the league wanted to hear it or not. That wasn't a minor response to a WNBA role player answering one honest question during a feature interview. It became a full-scale national conversation that extended far beyond the world of basketball. And Sophie never asked for it to unfold the way it did.
I can't applaud her enough. This notion that you're hating on the trans community because you are not a proponent of them participating in female sports is utterly ridiculous. Sophie Cunningham said every word right on the money. There's no hate involved. There's only love we're talking about. But what happened to loving girls who are born biologically as girls? What about their rights? What about fairness associated to them? Leah Thomas, I'm gonna keep bringing that name up. 400th plus in the world competing as a male. Transitions to female, and he was number one. If we're gonna act like transitioning from male to female doesn't involve an advantage for that trans athlete, I have nothing to say to you. You're not.
What happened next is the part people should really pay attention to, because it's what sets her apart from so many other athletes who found themselves in a similar situation. Reporters came back to her days later, clearly expecting her to walk back her comments, clarify them, or soften them into something less direct and less controversial. She did none of that. Instead, she repeated her position, almost word for word, and added that she doesn't hate anyone, that she genuinely believes there's room for everyone, but that she's not going to change what she truly believes simply because a room full of people wants her to. That's not the behavior of someone chasing controversy for attention. It's the response of someone who's asked a fair question, gave an honest answer, and refused to pretend she didn't mean it once the pressure arrived.
Last week, and talks about her beliefs, which I do think is very rare, especially being as young as she is, and quite honestly being brave to share something she knows is going to get picked apart a million times, and then standing by it. That's refreshing, especially from a young woman.
And that brings us to Seattle, because this is where the story stopped being an online debate and became something that reportedly happened to a real kid at a real game, in front of people who say they watched it unfold in real time. On Tuesday night, the Indiana Fever were in town to face the Seattle Storm, a matchup that, on paper, should have been all about basketball. Before tip-off, a small group gathered outside Climate Pledge Arena. Some were there to show support for Cunningham, while others were promoting a Washington ballot measure focused on fairness in girls' athletics that had been gaining attention across the state. A few held signs and others wore shirts displaying the XXX and XY symbols. None of it was directed at any specific Storm player. Instead, it centered on Cunningham, the broader debate surrounding her comments from weeks earlier, and a policy discussion that had been growing well beyond the remarks of a single WNBA player. Two of those fans made it into the arena and sat courtside holding a sign that simply thanked Cunningham for speaking up for girls. According to Brandy Cruz of Undivided Pod, who later spoke with them directly, a woman approached them during the game and reportedly called both them and their sign completely unhinged before security removed them from their seats. The fans later identified the woman as Celeste Cotan, a minority owner of the Seattle Storm. One of the fans said she was left in tears before the confrontation had even ended, shaken by how quickly a night at a basketball game turned into something deeply personal and confrontational.
Signs that said like, we love Sophie, like thank you Sophie for speaking up. And so we were holding them, just watching the game. Again, like, we were being super great. We hadn't said anything to anyone else. We were being super respectful. We were just holding our signs and cheering for both teams. And this lady, older lady, comes up to us, and she comes up to us, and at first I think she's gonna be nice, and then she asks like, what are you guys doing? Something like that. And then it was like, Jesus loves everyone. That's what she told us. And I was like, oh, I know. Like, I'm religious. Like, I know. Like, I know. Nice. Yeah. And she's like, oh, I hope Jesus can forgive you for what sin you've done. And like something like that. And then she told us that we were effing insane. And that we
and she's like, and she went like this.
Insane.
Yeah. She's like, you better stop this.
And stop pulling this. Yeah.
Now think about the imbalance at the center of all this. A crowd gathered outside the arena representing more than one viewpoint on the same issue, and no one from the organization reportedly approached the other side of the demonstration or told them to stop. That's completely within their rights. And no one is arguing they shouldn't be allowed to express their views or wear whatever they choose while entering the arena. But a teenage fan quietly holding a simple asterisk thank you ask sign for a player on the visiting team was reportedly confronted by a co-owner of the home franchise and told to put it away right in front of thousands of people.